A complaint I occasionally hear anarchists make is that it is naive to expect a concept like democratic world governance to work. I have to say this amuses me, because is there anything more naive than expecting peace, security and a stable world to simply emerge spontaneously? Who, even with a modest grasp of the sweep of human history, would draw such a conclusion, other than anarchists, of course? Besides, my dear anarchic friends, why comment and post at all? Won't anarchic utopia emerge naturally over time anyway? And if it needs your help, is it still anarchy? Do I look fat in this? I do look fat in this, don't I? It's double chin. However, by far the most common objection to democratic world governance, one I hear again and again, is the threat of corruption, leading to the assumption of absolute power by some nefarious opportunist. This is a more substantive complaint. History is littered with the wreckage of democracies that have foundered on just these dangerous shoals. So what can we offer as a defense against the ever-present and very real threat of corruption? I submit we need something new and radical. In Jim Stark's The Rescue Plan for Planet Earth, he says in Chapter 5, elected democratic world government representatives and senior civil servants should live recorded lives. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Basically, an MGP, a member of the global parliament, should wear a wire. Everything they do and say in person, every electronic communication, should be recorded, indexed and made public immediately. This would include the functional equivalent of a permanent, ongoing lie detector test running in the background. Jim suggests that this pertain to democratic world government business only. I actually disagree. I think MGPs should live fully recorded lives, up to and including their sex lives. Political deals are sometimes struck in these situations, and there is so much good sex available online that no one is going to be terribly interested in watching sexually inept politicians bumping uglies. Think I'm kidding? The only way to prevent corruption is utter, relentless transparency. The full spectrum goldfish bowl. This should be a constitutional provision. Once in place at the global tier of governance, demands will very quickly be made for the same transparency at all levels of governance. What a relief then that George and Laura will shortly be leaving the White House. The need for secrecy has arisen in the nation state because of the ever-present external threat, the risk of war or of attack. And this has been used as a convenient cloak to mask and hide some pretty awful stuff, most recently in the US during the Iraq War. However, a democratic world government would have no need of secrecy. It would have no one to spy on or hide from, except its own citizens. And this should be constitutionally denied. The full spectrum goldfish bowl is of course just the first line of defense. I envisage a potential version of the democratic world government with perhaps 100,000 representatives, meeting virtually online, each with, say, 100,000 constituents, no more than a medium-sized town. Such an enormous pool of MGPs would be functionally incorruptible. A third potential line of defense is somewhat counterintuitive. To leave the bulk of the world's military in the hands of the nation states and constitutionally prevent the democratic world government from ever having a standing army of its own, beyond an agreed police force fixed constitutionally at a level proportional to the world's population. Where a major police action is required, beyond the scope of the existing units, the democratic world government would appeal to the various nation states for the resources to undertake the particular operation. There is of course the risk that those resources would not be forthcoming. Perhaps this is one we must accept. So there you have it. 3 powerful lines of defense against the threat of corruption, albeit hypothetical lines of defense. The full spectrum goldfish bowl, the virtual parliament, the distributed military. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves. The UN has failed. The political clockwork put in place at the end of World War II has finally wound down. And it has failed because it was crippled from the outset by the limitations put upon it by the nation state. But there is hope. By synthesizing what we have learned in the last 2,500 years of social experiment, by synthesizing that with emerging technologies, we can deliver a genuine, transparent global democracy for the first time in human history. We need directly elected representatives at the global level, promoting our interests, our agenda, and our freedom from the scourge of war. Please join me in championing that goal by voting in the referendum to the right. Thanks.